Good day, everyone. My name is Khadija Muhammad, and in this video, I'll be taking you on a walkthrough for my code and website as well. I started making this website from the front end. I have different folders for the one-page website. First, I have the HTML file for the main page, which starts with the header, and I have the navigation bar in the header in a list. And I used div to make different um, to give different classes and IDs to the container and edit it in CSS. Next, I have the main content, which is in another section, which is a home section, and I give it the class hero. This section contains of a heading, a paragraph, a button, and another div for different animations. I put emojis to make an animated look in the end by also using GS and CSS as well. Now for the about section, I have a heading and I have also different containers. And here I used different colors to make it seem like a notebook, which gives it a better design. And then here I have the section for futures, which is just a simple section with headings and paragraphs. Now for the search section, I have heading and paragraph, and also I have a loading indicator, which is just div with a paragraph that says searching through our library, which gave it a more interactive and user-friendly look. And then the results section, which is I made it to add the book's result when generate the book results using JS when the user searches a certain book. And now I have one section for YouTube reviews. This section also is empty because it will generate YouTube videos from API. And now it's the event section, which is just a simple section with a heading and a paragraph. And now I have the offer section, which is also a simple section. After that, I have the chatbot container. This section is for my AI chatbot, which is mostly JS. So this section is just not doesn't have many things. It's just like the buttons and the divs so that I can edit it in JS and CSS. And lastly is the footer. The footer contains of different divs and different links. For Instagram, Facebook, I added the icons from online, and that's it for the footer. And then I added two JavaScript files in the end, which is one for the API books and one for the chatbot. Now let's go through the CSS quickly. My CSS file first starts with I added the general colors that I'm going to use in my design to make it easier to use. I named each color and I made a gradient color effect. And I started with the main design and body design, and then I used different classes to add width and margin and padding. Every other thing is just using font size and using display position, just the easy layout to make it look responsive and user-friendly. Also, in the end, I added the media queries to make sure that this design is responsive on tablet and on phone. Here, media queries, responsive for responsive design. And now for the JS file, I used API to fetish the books from online. I first added the function for search book, and I used if for deciding which book to show, and I also added the design for the book that is showing from here. And then I have the YouTube reviews. I used a different function for it. I added my API key that I made, and I added the fetish for making the YouTube videos appear. I added the layout as well. And now for the search button, I added the event listener to make sure that when a user clicks or searches something, it appears the right content. And there's the general button, suggestion button, and that's it for the book.js. For the chatbot.js, I used two functions, one for opening the chatbot and one for closing it. And then I had a set timeout for making the chatbot response to make the chatbot welcomes the user once the chatbot is open. I give it 500, and I add a different function for the message and different function for replies. And I used the same way of fetching books here. And then I have the function for processing messages, which is the main chatbot logic. I have the greeting and showing children books, genres, and finally I have one function for mood detection. and the fallback for if the user doesn't enter something that the chatbot understands. And then I have the login page, which is just HTML and CSS, like the other one. And the login function as well, I added the way event listener and taking the data. This was functioning through the backend. For the backend, I have one index file, which is the main file, that takes the username, email, and password and saves it and says if the user data is saved, which will say success, or if it didn't save. And like you can see here, it will tell me that the compile was successful, and it will show me the data as well. I connected it to MongoDB, so we can try it now from the website. So when you try to log in, it will show the sign up successfully, and it will show in Visual Studio Code your data here, the name you entered, the email, and the password. So let's try this again together. I will say okay, and I will enter my data, and I will click sign up, and it will show sign up successfully. And it should also show the data here in Mongo. Yes. So this is the last data entered, the name and the email. So it is connected to MongoDB DP, and it is connected also to Visual Studio Code, where it will show in the backend the data. That's it for the login page and for the backend, and thank you so much for watching.